Oh, there we go. So welcome everybody. I'm here from Speakers for Schools. So I'm here with the capacity to help out and support with the virtual work experience and the virtual elements of the programme. For those of us that don't know that Speakers for Schools, so we are a not-for-profit charity, and we connect employers and local education providers, so things so that schools and colleges, with regards to helping students to get access to the world of work. So what I'm going to go through today is just explain a little bit more about Google Classrooms. So Google Classrooms is the platform that we use to deliver the virtual side of our programs. So I'm going to share my screen and just talk through a little bit about what individuals will need to know. Obviously, if you've got any questions, when I'm sharing my screen, I won't be able to see the meeting chat. So perhaps if anyone does pop anything in the chat, if someone could be so kind as to interrupt me, or just feel free to come off mute and shout your question out, is absolutely fine. So if you just bear with me and we'll get sharing. There we go. So hopefully now you can just see my screen here. If someone can give me a thumbs up. Jackie, you're on the bottom of my screen. Perfect. Okay. So what we'll be doing is we're having a Google Classroom for every physical school. Okay. So the first thing everyone needs to learn to do is actually log into Google Classrooms. Here at Speakers for Schools, we will be providing every individual with what we call a VWEX account. So you'll get an email through with your login details, and it literally, you can see here, so mine is laura.morris@vwex.org. Yours won't be your names because it will be an anonymous account as such. So you will receive that login, and it's important that that's what you use to log into Google. And the reason I emphasize that is because I know a lot of individuals do have their own Google accounts and things that they use either for work or personal purposes, but you will need to make sure that you log out of anything. So if you just go to google.com, and you'll see on this top right hand corner whether you're logged in with an account or not. If you're logged in with something else, just click sign out and then sign back in with your VWEX details that will be supplied to you via your email address.
Just quickly, Laura.
Yeah.
Who will be sending those VWEX details? Is it coming from Speakers for Schools or from Glenn?
They will come from Speakers for Schools. It will be from our experience team that we will receive that from.
So, and when are they going to send those out? Because it might be something that they need to look in their junk, or in my county council we have an other email box. So do you know roughly when they're going to send that out?
No problem. As soon as we get all the details confirmed. So at the moment we are waiting for the full list to come back from Josie. So when we've got all of that information collated and supplied, then we can do it within a couple of days of that being supplied to us. So I would imagine, I would like to say it will probably be by the end of next week.
Yeah, the next couple of weeks then, certainly.
Yeah, so yes, I would advise everyone to keep an eye out for those logins. Obviously, if there are any problems, then you can contact me directly and I can chase those up and find out what's happening.
Thank you. And it might actually be for us to just when you've sent them out, just to email people, the whole list from a personal email, because that's more likely to get through, just to say, can you look for it and find it?
Yeah, that
seems to be critical to things working.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, it's just important that everybody logs in with their right email that they've been allocated, because that's how they can access the actual classroom. So when someone logs in, they won't have all of these screens up here, because these are a lot of just examples and things that I've been working on. You will only have access to the classroom that you have been allocated to. So for example, if you are an employer from, so if you are a teacher from Stone Lodge, you will have your one classroom for Stone Lodge to log into. So you can see here it says discover your future. So if I click into the classroom, so when you've clicked into it to accept, this will be what you will see. So in the actual Google Classroom, you've got 4 sort of tabs, if you like, along the top here. Now, I'm going to work slightly backwards and just say that grades you don't need to worry about, because obviously we're not grading any kind of work experience, so that's not something you need to look at. People, again, nothing you need to worry about there. That's just for us so we can track who is within the classroom itself and make sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be. And then, so the two I'm going to talk about are Stream and Classwork. So Stream here is very much like any kind of newsfeed that you might see perhaps on your LinkedIn or Facebook or social media, and it's where information can be posted. The most important thing that you will need to look at within that stream will be where it says use this link to access the classroom. That is the link that you will need for any of the live elements, okay? So within the stream, that should be at the top, and that's the link that will be needed. So we're going to come back to that live meet link in a moment. I just want to touch upon this other tab at the top where we've got classwork. So going into the classwork section, where you've mentioned that there are 5 themes, you will see that there's going to be, all the themes will be listed. Okay, so at the moment we've got exploration and skills that are listed, just as we're starting to populate the resources for that. So under the exploration theme, for example, you will see any resources that are associated to that particular allocation of theme. So you'll see, for example, we've got here, they are clearly labelled, so teacher sessions, employer sessions, so so obviously that will all be populated accordingly. It's also, it might be relevant if you are an employer who's looking to deliver a talk. You can discuss whether you want to have your presentation available, and you can pop that in there. And likewise, if you've got any videos within your presentation, it's always useful to have those as a separate link, and they can be included under this classwork section as well, just in case there's any problems. As we all know, with working from home, sometimes there's connectivity issues, particularly when trying to play something like a video. So if anything happens and it's buffering or something like that, it's always good to have a link in the classroom. So if anyone has any problems, they can access that independently.
Laura, it's me again. Yeah. So can they upload those things themselves to their own site, which would just be seen by them, as opposed to every other employer who's in there, presumably?
No, so this classwork section is shared for everybody within the classroom. So that will be for all, any employer and any teacher that's allocated to the classroom will be able to view it. In terms of uploading, only certain individuals can do that. So it might be best if we know that we've got a particular host for each classroom, which we're just waiting on the confirmation for, that an employer can then discuss with their point of contact with you to then say, this would be great to share. Can you post it up for me? Okay. It's perhaps the best way to.
Right. No, because I was a bit confused about, you said that they could put them in there. So
yes.
So and just to say to you know, the guys who are on here now, this isn't an expectation, but we know that quite a lot of the bigger organisations, so Morgan Sindall, for example, they do this a lot, and they have a video, they have their own presentation about what it's like to work in that sector. They can use it. If you don't, then don't worry. It's not an expectation that you should suddenly, I'm just thinking, I don't want people to suddenly panic, think, oh my God, I've got to create a video or something, or even any slides. It will be, you know, for example, the questions for the exploration is for you to talk about, you know, what it's like in your sector. How did you get in there? What are the opportunities? So a few notes for yourself would be fine. And similarly for the others. So don't worry.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Yes, it's not a must-have, it's just a feature that's there. If anyone wishes to share it, then there's the opportunity to do so. I think so that's probably important to mention. You're absolutely right. And what happens is, you say, you just click into it and there you are, you've got your materials there. So it's just a useful resource section that's available for those that wish to make use of it, then they can do so. The main thing that, as I said, that everyone will need to know is accessing the actual live element of the link itself. So I've just gone back to the stream page and I'm going to select this link. Now you'll have to bear with me a little bit because it's going to get slightly confused, because obviously I'm on Microsoft Teams to you, hence why it's saying about my camera and things. So I'm just going to make sure that that's all turned off and join now. So here I am in the Google Meet link all on my lonesome. But obviously when everybody joins, then this will be where people will pop up. On the right hand side here is the activity panel. So that's very similar to, for example, where I'm presenting now in Teams, where you have a chat panel, etc. on the right hand side. Works in exactly the same way. Now, what you'll see here may be slightly different today because I am what's called a host level. So I have more abilities to more functions than perhaps you will have as an employer or a teacher. But it's important for me to have that host function today so I can showcase everything to you that you might need to know. So when you log into and click on the link, as I say, you'll come straight into like a main meeting. What the idea will be for this particular event is that we're going to be put into breakout rooms. So each form, for example, will be put into a breakout room with some employers, and then we're going to rotate potentially the employers round within that. So all you need to worry about from an employer or a teacher point of view is that when you come into this main room, somebody else will be managing this, okay? So what will happen is you'll likely be put into a breakout room, so you don't have to worry about what I'm doing on the screen now. I'm just setting that up, so somebody else will do that for you. So what will happen is you will get this box pop up, okay? So if you get invited to join a breakout room, all you need to do is press join. Here we are, and then here I am in a breakout room. Looks exactly the same as on the main screen, so nothing to worry about there. But it's just interesting. So you'll only have those that are within your room. Okay. So from a teacher point of view, for example, you'll have somebody presenting here, and then that's all you need to be aware of. From if you are the person who is presenting, down here on the right hand side, right hand corner is where you will see the present now button. When you click present now, you've got several options available. You can do entire screen, a window or a tab. It's up to you which one you feel most comfortable with, because obviously if you do entire screen, please do make sure that you haven't got any emails or any other notifications that popping up that you might not want to be shared. You can do a window or a tab there as well. I'm quite happy, so I would do, for example, I could select a window, and then I don't know whether you can see this from the recording that I'm doing here, but it will pop up with different things here, so you can see everything that I've got on my desktop, and then I can just choose which window that I would share. I can do a tab, so I can just select present a tab, and then I can see here, I don't know whether now you're seeing a presentation that I've got up for something else that I've got a best practice event that we're working on Tuesday, so here's a presentation that I'm working on for that. And as you can see in my presentation here, I've got some videos as well, so I can select and play that. Now, the key thing to remember, if you are doing what I'm doing here and playing a video, please make sure before you press play on that video, you go back and make sure that you are muted, okay? That's important, because if I'm not muted, then what will happen is when I play this video, you'll get that feedback. I'm sure we've all had it in meetings where you get that echo and it all sounds all funny and all out of time, and that's why. So if you are presenting a video, just make sure you pop yourself on mute before you press play. My other tip for that would also be, if you're on a video, sharing a video that is, for example, on a YouTube channel or hosted on YouTube, when it has finished, so you can press your video, when it has finished, make sure that you pause it, because obviously YouTube has a tendency to then hop on to the next video, so you don't want that running in the background whilst you're then going back to your presentation. Okay, so that would be my top tips if you're sharing a video for that there as well. Okay.
So Laura, similarly to the way we do it now, we would ask them to open the presentation that's in the classroom, put that on a minimize it or whatever, and then they just share it. So the same as we do now with Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, very much so. I think all these sort of platforms are all very similar in that way. As I say, my only top tips is just to make sure, as I say, whether you're doing your whole screen, a window or a tab, so therefore you can find your document accordingly. And as I say, if you are playing a video, make sure to mute yourself first, because otherwise you'll get that horrible feedback there as well.
And close things down that you're not using at the time, which is my top tip. And you've got a zillion things open and you try and think, what on earth am I going to share?
Absolutely, exactly. Always make sure that that you're comfortable with with what you've got up or what might pop through if you're on an email or anything like that. So I would always be mindful of that when you're presenting. Okay, so that it really is that simple with regards to what you need to worry about. You'll get the host for your classroom as a whole will be responsible for closing your breakout room. So you will get you won't see this because obviously this is me as the host closing it. So I've said, yes, I want to close all the rooms. So where I'm in my breakout room, you'll see here, breakout rooms are ending. So you will get a warning there pop up. So you know, right, okay, that's fine. It's the end of the session. So we're all wrapping up and then we'll get called back into the main room. Oh, there we
I've
go.
got a couple of one comment and one question.
Yeah.
Just saying to the employers, the way it's going to work is you're not going to have, it might be slightly different with Stone Lodge, but the other two schools, Sybil Andrews and Stowmarket, you're not going to have all the students you're not going to have their names listing down the side. It is going to be teacher moderated. So you will be on a white screen and the children will be in the classroom rather than reacting with you virtually. The reason for doing this is partly COVID and it's partly technology in schools. I mean, I don't know how I can say this at this point in time, but I think it is also COVID related because of the whole bubbles and the sanitizing, the computers and all that sort of stuff. They haven't all got their own computer to be able to log on. So you will have a teacher you will have a teacher with you in the room and you will hopefully see the students, depending on how they've turned their camera around in the classroom. So that's just an important point to mention. And just a question for you, Laura, as a host, can we pop between the different callers as a host to say help?
Yeah, so when you are within that breakout room, if you are an employer or a teacher and that has any queries, you have a function to raise your hand. As whoever that host is for the classroom can be in this main room, if you like, and then they'll get a little notification that will pop up to say, oh, room 1, they've got a question, and then you would just click join down the side here, and you can hop into a breakout room to join each room effectively.
And so we can hop into the rooms and make sure everything's going okay. So
the one person that's the host has that ability to hop in and out to check that everyone's happy.
Thanks.
Okay.
So questions. Sorry, Laura. I'll shut up again.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say that that's really everything that you need to know in terms of Google Meet, how to present. There are additional functions within the main Google Meet, but I don't know whether you will be using that. And it will be a host rather than a teacher or an employer if they are going to be used, because you can do things like your polls and a Q&A, etc. But I think you've sort of nicely commented there, really, with regards to saying that it's only going to be effectively in a room, teacher and an employer, and then the teacher will be feeding in any questions that have come from the classroom at that point. So yeah, I think that's everything from a Google Classroom point of view, unless anybody has any questions at all. I will hop back to my classroom here and see if anybody has anything they'd like to ask.
I think it looks, thankfully, refreshingly straightforward, to be honest.
Let me stop sharing for a moment. Yes, absolutely. I think it's always the case with a lot of things, Jordan, that it's the thought, isn't it? And it's sort of using a new platform or something that perhaps you're not familiar with. But the reality is, many of us, I think, have used some form of online virtual platform over the last year, and they all have very, very similar functions, and they're all quite intuitive. So I think what I would say is you can't break it. So from that point of view, it's you know, I don't think you need to worry too much. You're very much in the hands of your host of your class. So if it says pop up and join, you just click join, then you go into it, and then you just, you know, you're there and you're ready to present as an employer. So long as you've got, as Jackie said, your presentation and things good to go, or just to talk and deliver off any notes and things that you're working from, then I think we should all be absolutely fine.
Jordan, do you know what Glenn's timeline is for sending out to the employers exactly what they're doing and what dates they're doing? Do you know when he's planning to do that?
I don't, but there is a timeline on our BWIS planning group Teams thing, which should have that information on it.
But I would say we are planning to, if not before Easter, certainly I would say the week after Easter, so well before the 20th of April, if you are on the sort of 20th of or 20, you know, I say the 20th of April is when we start properly, but you know, 26th, 27th of April, so it's well before, yeah. The day. We're not going to be sending out to you the day before, and then you think, oh dear, what on earth am I doing?
Perfect. No, I think that's fantastic. I think the sessions are set to be, it's really exciting. I'm for one, I think the themes have been really, really well thought out, and I think that it will go down really, really well with the learners. So I think it'll be a really exciting programme to roll out. I'm just going to stop recording then if we're finished on, and there's no further questions regarding the Google Classroom, if that's okay with everybody.
I've got a couple of just sort of general questions, probably more for Jackie.
Yeah.